Family, welcome to another episode of Financial Freedom. Thank you for being here with us, and I am your accompaniment on this journey, Derek Brown. Thank you for taking the time to watch another episode with us. Look, March 19th, 2020, so many things happened. COVID hit, and we had to find a way here at the House of Hope to be able to provide you with inspiration and information. So we launched at the Hope TV on various platforms. And because of your viewership, we went from one episode to over 10 million views to over 45 million views and 35 different shows and a whole channel. But without you, it wouldn't have happened. So I have to say thank you. Thank you so much for your sponsorship and for your care. If you can, like and subscribe and also share the video. It'll always help us out so much to continue to bring good content. Family, as always, we're back with another outstanding guest. This man is incredible. President of the Urban League in Greater Atlanta, co-chair in the Elections Committee of the Emerging 100 of Atlanta, bachelor's in business administration, MBA from Clark Atlanta, master's in accounting from Keller University, senior accountant for the Atlanta Housing Authority, co-founding member of I Am Black Business Inc., and I love this one, a tech company educating Black business owners on the power of tech to improve their company. He also spends his time mentoring and exposing job opportunities to the people of the Boys and Girls Club, and also the Emerging 100. Yo, this man is grossly overqualified for this conversation, but I'm so excited that he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michael Troon.
Hey, Derek, nice to be here. Thank you for the great introduction. Really appreciate that. I will say I am the president of the Urban League of Greater Atlanta Young Professionals. I don't want to take away from our president and CEO Nancy Flake Johnson, because if she sees this, she's gonna be like, "Wait, I'm not. You're not the president of the whole chapter, just the president of the Young Professional chapter." So had to put that out there. But hey, Nancy, how you doing?
Let's make sure we get that right. Let's make sure we get that right. I apologize. Thank you for the correction. I appreciate that.
No problem. No problem.
So, the focus of this episode is mainly budgeting during the holidays, but I wanna talk about this a little bit because looking at your background, you would think you had this thing down pat from the beginning. Have you always been a money-minded person, a financially minded person? Was this something you were taught?
Um, I have always been a money-minded person, financially minded person, and I give all credit to my dad. He's a
Mm,
accountant slash CPA.
mm,
So ever since I was young, going to his office, we've always been my brothers and I have always been exposed to the financial and the accounting aspect of what goes on in the world, right? But
right.
I still had to learn a lot of things as I went along. I've made some financial mistakes as well, but it's allowed me to really, learn from those mistakes, go back and talk to my dad to figure out what I did
Right.
wrong and how I can do it better, right? Because nobody's going to be perfect, right? Um, People would think, based off of my dad, being an accountant, based off me also going into accounting as well, that everything would be perfect. It's not. Like I said, I've made some financial mistakes in my past as well.
I would think by default it would just fall in line for you because you deal with money. Money is your job.
Mm,
Well, that's how a lot of us think. Money is your job.
mm.
What mistakes as a professional have you made that I mean most of us would think you wouldn't when it comes to that type of stuff, budgeting?
Yeah, so I'm good with managing other people's money, right? So the companies I work for, I'm good with doing that because I know that there's a potential for a larger issue that could occur if money isn't in the right account, or if
Right.
the transactions don't look right, or things of that nature, right? But
Mhm.
but from a personal standpoint, um, you know we've all been 20, 21, 22 years old. You get your first job out of college, and you have all this money, right? So you're like, oh, I'm good. We go party up, gonna do all this stuff, and you start looking at certain things you want to buy, new
Mm-hmm.
shoes, new clothes, house, car. But
Right.
one thing that one mistake that I made was I overstretched myself, right? So I made a certain amount of money at between 21 and 24 years old, but I spent more
Oh
than
yeah.
what I was making. So like, I would, going to the club and
Oh,
just be
you
frank, going
kidding.
to the club, buy all these
Yeah.
buy bottles and things of that nature, knowing that, I got rent to pay, knowing I got car note, knowing I got all this other stuff, it overspent, and that put me
Mm,
in a deficit, and I had to my way out of that.
got you. That's
So, I
that's
mean,
that's real.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, being young and dumb, it has its good things about it, but then obviously the financial aspect was my downside about it.
Got you. Are there any, speaking of which, are there any, being a young professional, right? You finally got a little bit of cash, you finally working some things out. Were there any things that you feel like are specific to young professionals, especially living in this day and age, that we
Hmm.
need to be cautious of when it comes to budgeting? Because when you come out and you got that option to make some money, and you even got a whole bunch of bills yet, you may not have a mortgage at this point, right?
Hmm.
You may not have kids or whatnot. Are there specific budgeting issues? Because I know people who are awesome TTs, right? Like
Hmm.
they're awesome uncles, big brothers, cousins. So they wanna make sure they getting the gifts for their family. They taking trips to go see certain people. Are there pitfalls for young professionals who are out here who think, man, I finally got what I should have, quote unquote.
Hmm.
Let me go out here and live my best life.
Good question. So I think one of the things is us not really uh, planning for our future, right?
Mm,
And what I
okay.
mean by that is setting up a savings account, setting up a an investment account with like
Mm-hmm.
Charles Schwab or Robinhood or something like that, and actively diverting some of the money that you bring home, your take home pay, into those
Right.
accounts, right? Because
Okay.
um, while you have your 401k, while you may have you may be making six figures, you still
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to plan for your future in the event that you get married, have kids,
Right.
mortgage, car note, college education, all those different things. We as young professionals, and I'm not going to say all of us, but it
Right.
might be a good majority of us that
Yeah.
we don't really plan for our future until literally until probably we get to our 30s, and then we're like, okay, now I've kind of learned everything, now I've matured enough, now I need to start planning for my future. Whereas I think you should be start planning for your future as soon as you truly get that nice job that you're making a good amount of money.
Right. Right, got you. Let me ask this, because that's a good point. I've heard from previous guests before, making sure you max out your 401k, making sure if they have something that where they couple, they match your income or
Yep.
whatever you deposit into that account, you make sure you do all those things. How
Hmm.
far in advance should we create money plans when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to future? I even had one guest say, your life should have a business plan. Like
Mm.
he went as far as to say that. Um, I'm sorry, she went as far as to say that. How far do you think we should actually be looking? Some people have said 5 to 10 years, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know anybody personally, and maybe there's people who have a 5 to 10 year life budget plan. I've never met anybody.
So I would agree with that. I think at least a 5 year plan would be ideal. However, if like you say, we don't know what the future holds. Never know, what our life is going to look like 5 to 10 years from now. But if 5 years is too long for you, I say at least do it year by year, right? So at the very least, say I want to meet this specific financial goal, whether it's I want to save $10,000 in my savings account. I want to have have enough money in saved up to where if I lose my job, I can pay for all of my expenses while I'm still looking. I
Gotcha.
say at least a year in advance would be a good starting point, and then once you get
Right.
comfortable enough with that, then you can start pushing that out to 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the line. Because again, we need to be able to plan for our futures because like I said before, we don't know what tomorrow's going to hold for us. So at the very
Mhm.
least, making sure that you continue to be proactive in
Right.
budgeting and setting yourself up for the day when you decide to retire at 50 years old. You can go do whatever you want to do because you've taken the right steps beforehand to set yourself up to that point.
Mhm. 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 And that's good. That's always good to know. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
When it comes down to creating this plan, right? And moving through these seasons, what are maybe the top three misconceptions, three or four maybe,
Hmm.
that you commonly hear or you've heard or even yourself may have experienced when it comes to creating a financial plan or just a budget to get through these seasons?
Yeah. So, I'm glad you asked that question because, I had to actually write this down just to make sure I
Got
got
you.
this right.
Good
But
one.
I would say my first one is, and I experienced this when I was, I was younger, is that I make
Mhm.
plenty of money, so I don't need to budget, right? Um,
Mm.
you can
Yeah.
make
Okay.
$50,000, you can make $100,000, but
Right.
if you think that income, because in all honesty, that income may not last, right? You could
Yeah.
experience be part of a layoff for your company.
Hmm.
There could be let's say a medical emergency that
Right.
occurred that could deplete all of that could take all the money that you have, right?
There's a follow-up question coming after this, so I just want to, yeah, go ahead. That little
Okay.
part. Go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So there's a bunch of different things that could happen that could deplete the income that you have, right? So that's my number one. My number two is people think that the budget is too restrictive. I.e., like if I'm on a budget,
Oh,
I
oh,
can't do all these different things, right? I can't go out to eat.
oh, so extreme
I can't
living.
go hang out with my friends. I can't do any of these things because of this budget.
People out here living their best life, their whole
Yep.
best life. I'm like,
Yep.
how are you going on these trips? What are you doing differently?
Hmm.
I don't understand. You bag groceries at Kroger. How are you affording this trip and this cruise?
You
I need to figure
planning.
this out.
You're
They're living
planning.
their best life. Mike, help me.
Yep. I
Help
mean,
me.
those that are doing that, they're planning ahead, right? Because
Right.
if you say, let's say, Derek, you say, you know what, I want to go to Barbados in
Okay.
2021. With COVID and
Okay.
everything, people's travel plans. I know my travel plans, they were canceled, right? So you say, you know what,
Switch.
I'm going to push my Barbados trip to 2021, and
Okay.
you based on your research, flights
Right.
and all of that, you determine that it's going to cost you about $2,000, and you're going to stay there for a whole
Okay.
week. So it's going to cost you $2,000, flight,
Okay.
hotel, food, buying gifts, all of that, right?
Hmm.
So if you break it down by month, it
Hmm.
says it comes out to less than $200 a month. So you're like, okay,
Okay.
what do I need to do in order to be able to save up that $2,000, which is again less than $200 a month, to be able to buy my flight, to stay in the best hotel that's out there, food,
Okay.
all of that, right? And you
Hmm.
say, okay, well, I make I'm just gonna throw out an arbitrary number. I make $50,000 a year, so my
Okay.
take home pay, and again, it's arbitrary. Let's say is $2,000 a month,
Okay.
and based on your all of
Right.
your expenses, you have left over, let's say $1,000 a month, taking out less than $200 from that net amount that you have left over after you pay all of your expenses, after you
Right.
pay for food, your groceries, things of that nature. That's very that's less than, we'll say, less than 10% of what you have left over, right? It could be
Okay.
less than 20%, less than 10%, right? So
Okay.
you just have to get in your mind that that's what you want to do. If you know that you want to go on this trip, and you know that this is something that you want to experience, you just have to mentally prepare yourself and say, I'm going to do this. I am not going to I'm going to take this money, I'm going to maybe move it into a separate account, right? A separate savings account, or
Uh-huh.
interest bearing account or something like that, and I'm not
Okay.
going to touch that money, right? But then the other
Hmm.
thing is making sure that you set it to where it's automatically moved to that account, so you don't see it. Because what
Mm.
happens is,
I
and
anticipate.
again,
Got
this is what I've what I've experienced, and then also just talking to friends, is that
right.
when I don't see the money, I don't, it's I don't worry about it, right?
Got you.
Because in the back of my mind, I know it's going somewhere. I just know that
Hmm.
it's not sitting in my main account that I use to pay all my bills and to maybe go have some fun as well.
Got it. Okay.
And
Yeah, man.
then
Because
the third
I
one,
just it blew me away because these people who like sharpen pencils for a living was out here having trips to Abu Dhabi, and I'm just like, wait
yeah,
a minute, wait, bruh, how
yeah,
you pulling this off? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Got you. Planning
yeah,
much further ahead. Got it. Okay. Go
yep.
ahead. Go ahead.
And then the third, the last one, and I had to kind of, I looked online to see what were people saying, but um, the most the most popular one is, it's not the right time to do it,
Mm.
right? I have
Okay.
I have all these other things going on. I have all these bills that are that are piling up. I got all these things that's preventing me from doing it. So it's not the right time. So I'm gonna wait a month. I'm gonna wait till next year to start. I'm gonna wait till my birthday next year to start. Whatever the case may be. It's never, and my response to that is, while you may think it's not the right time, continue to
Right.
push it back or push it off is going to continue to put you in a situation where you're always going to think that you can do this later on. And
Got
again, like I said before, with the first one, you may have a medical emergency, your car may break down, um,
you. Yeah.
you may lose a job, and
Right.
if you don't have any let's say emergency funds, then you're going to be you're going to be struggling, and you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be stressed out, and you're not going to know what to do, right? Because now you don't have any money, and you're going to be looking for help.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's something that I was looking at my notes trying to figure out how I want to phrase it. But one thing that I have constantly heard a lot about in this age of COVID is that people have been made horribly aware how important it is to have emergency savings.
Yes.
Right? People have been made quickly aware how important it is to have auxiliary money set aside to be able to pay for rent and utilities and whatever other bills that we have because of all the furloughs or layoffs
Hmm.
or something of that nature. And even people have been, afraid of like food shortages, and people have been buying extra freezers to stock up for
Yep.
food in
Yep.
emergencies. All of a
Yep.
sudden, everybody was thrust into an episode of Survivor that we
Yep.
never anticipated, right?
We
So
did
it's
not.
not at all. So it's amazing to me when we're in this age of COVID. I find that a lot of fear is motivating people's budgets. What is there any advice that you would suggest for people when it comes to budgeting in this particular age? Because when I look on social media, brother, what I see is a lot of make sure you got 3 months worth of uh, water, food, and guns. I just see a whole
Mm.
lot of when it comes to understanding our emergency budget and what we should have. What would you suggest that we keep in mind?
I would say just keep in mind, when you're doing your budget, especially during this pandemic, of all the expenses that you may not necessarily need anymore, right? So I'll say, for example, I've been fortunate enough to where I haven't had to go into work since March. So I've, looking at my the amount of gas money I spent in over the last year driving
Right,
to and from work, but then also as I'm kind of just going around town, we talk about for like urban league events and things of that nature, hanging out with friends and whatnot. I
right,
said, okay, that money that I spent on gas, what I'm going to do is I'm
right,
going to ratchet that amount down quite a bit to where if I was spending, let's say, $150 to $200 a month on gas, I said, okay, I'm gonna break that down to, let's say, $50 a month, right?
right, right,
Same thing with if you can afford to or we talk about cable and internet. Most people, from what I've seen, they've done away with their cable, right, and just
right.
got internet.
Now, yeah,
Correct. Right. Because at this point, a lot of companies are just doing streaming services. So,
right.
if you're paying $120, $200 a month for your cable and your internet, if
Mm,
and I actually did this. I went and talked to my service provider, and I said, I don't need the cable anymore. All I want is the internet. I want the speed that will allow me to do stuff like this, like have a conversation with you, right?
right.
Be able to stream certain services and to get online for work, right? So I ended up getting I was initially paying, let's say, $130 a month. I got it down
Mm-hmm.
to about $70 a month, right? So I
Okay.
just made a savings there. So to answer, to go back to answering your question, it's really about just looking at your expenses and determining what don't you need anymore. Obviously,
Got it.
we got to still be able to pay our rent, still got to be able
Mm-hmm.
to buy food to eat groceries. Um, if we have to travel to work, making sure that you put gas in the car, and paying your all your utility expenses, right? But even
Right.
to the aspect of we talk about your phone bills, your what I was gonna get to is your food.
Got you.
Looking at that, because in all honesty, that's probably a big piece of where your money's going to, especially if you're going out a lot.
Yes.
If you're using
Out
Uber
of
Eats, if you're going to restaurants and things of that nature, looking at
can't stay
that
in my house.
expense. Exactly, because if you were to cut out some of that, you probably would see that you would have a good amount of money left over at the end of each month.
Right, right, right. Look, we only have a few minutes left, and this is going to be such a bigger question than we actually have the time to cover. Um, but in looking at, um, well, I wanted to ask that question too. Okay, 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 okay. With, I'm sorry, I'm excited. With everything going on, right? With the emergency money, with this going on, with cutting certain stuff out, with being aware of what our priorities are, with everything that just transpired. We just had an election, right?
Hmm.
I've been hearing conversations and murmurings of how investing, this might be a prime time to invest during uh, times of crisis because maybe stuff drops low or it becomes more
Hmm.
affordable, houses are easier
Hmm.
to buy, whatever, whatnot. Now, we're also in the midst of holiday season, right?
Hmm.
We're in the midst of Thanksgiving and buying gifts. So, what you just talked about when it comes to food and budgeting, for most of us, right out the window. Forget about
Yep.
it. We got gifts to buy.
Yep.
I'm trying to be the best husband I could be this year, the best son I could be, the best mom, the best daughter. Help us, please, Mike, when it comes to how do I get through this season without murdering my account? Because all these sales, Black Friday's coming. Come on, man, help me. Just something. Because
So
my
I'll say, oh no, and trust me, I understand. You want to be. I think the best thing. Well, first advice I would get is be practical, right?
okay.
Look, really take a hard look at your finances. Matter of fact, look at it now.
Right.
Look to see exactly what's in your bank account and see how much money
Right.
you bring in on a monthly basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
If if Christmas was today, would you
Mm-hmm.
be able to afford to to buy all these lavish gifts for your families and your friends, right? Would you be able to
Mm-hmm.
do that? And if the answer is no, then there you go. I think that's the first step, right? The second step
Okay.
is I think people should realize again that we're in a pandemic, right?
Right.
People have lost their jobs. People are struggling. So to expect somebody, whether it's your husband, your wife, whomever, to be able to go out and purchase these nice bags and shoes and clothes, knowing that we're in a pandemic, knowing that we don't know what next year is going to look like, to me is it doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
So let's say for me, I might decide to just get my family gift cards, right?
Okay.
Because and again, it's just me. I value spending time with my family over over the amount of money that I spend on them. While obviously I love my family. I want to make sure
Right.
that they're all taken care of, and I show my appreciation for them through gifts. But I also realize financially I may not be able to do it this year, right?
Right.
So I take that into account. But then also I think the other thing is maybe also having a conversation with them ahead of time, right? To say,
Oh,
hey, I'm not really in a financial position to be able to get you, that watch you wanted, or those sunglasses you wanted, or that suit that you wanted, because I got all of this other things, other priorities on my plate. So I'm still going to get you a gift. It's not going to be exactly what you may be expecting, right? So being able to have those conversations with them ahead of time, I think that will lower their level of expectation, and it will also increase their level of appreciation for you because you actually decided to have a conversation with them ahead of time, so that they can.
how dare you suggest that I put my ego and pride aside and actually tell people where I'm realistically at? How dare you, Mike? How dare you?
I mean, I think people appreciate honesty,
Right.
and
Right. I think
everybody,
so.
I think from a sensible standpoint, they can understand that if you're not in a a good financial space, then they can relate to that because they may have been in the same situation, but they probably never voiced that before, right? So having somebody voice that especially the people that they love and that they trust with the information that they're giving to them,
Right.
being able to verbalize that, I think says a lot about that person's character, integrity, and them just wanting to be open and honest with the people that they love and care about.
What I found also is that people who are very attentive and give sentimental gifts
Yes,
tend to spend a lot less money.
yes,
Um, and I know that may sound weird for some people who like to get the big lavish stuff, but what I find is that people who are attentive to sentimental stuff, or maybe to a passing whim, like, oh, girl, that's so cute, da da da, the auntie may go
mhm,
get it for him, and they're like, oh, I didn't even think you heard me, or
right,
uh, I know I've done it before for nieces and nephews. If I'm dating a young lady at the time, she may say something in passing, not even thinking about it, but she really likes it, like to see the expression on their faces. I may snatch that or write a note of it or something, and I still get them what they want. I still wind up spending a
Yep.
lot less money.
Yep. I mean, and to your point, like, I've just for friends, if somebody says there's this, for example, like a friend of mine loves this black owned wine bottle company called, I think, McBride Sisters, right? And the
Exactly.
wines are sold in particular stores. I can go get 2 or 3 bottles of that, maybe spend $40, $50 on that,
Okay.
as opposed to going to get, a purse that may cost $100, $200 or more. And like you said, she'll get the gift and say, "Oh, I didn't think you heard me. I didn't think that you were paying attention. I really appreciate you getting this, because I've always wanted to try it. I just could never find it."
Shout out, good game for the fellas. Anyway,
Yep.
anyways, yo, we are coming up to the end of our time. Oh, thank you so much for being here, man. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's valuable, so I very much appreciate it. Um, man, thank you.
No problem, Derek. No problem at all, man. When you said we were coming up on time, I looked down at the time. I was like, oh man, it's already noon. So
Hello.
I'll say this: if you want me to come back on again, definitely willing to do that. If we want to continue this conversation, I'm more than happy to make that happen. Just let me know the date, the time. Obviously, we know the location, so I'll be more than happy to
Right.
come back on and we can continue this conversation.
Definitely, definitely. The station at the Hope TV on multiple platforms. That's where you can find us at Facebook, Instagram, Roku, if that's what you have. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Michael Chum. Excellent, excellent man that knows his business and knows what he's talking
Thank you.
about. Family,
Thank
this
you.
has been your episode of Financial Freedom. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope to see you again. As always, be safe out there.
Washington is working really well for the folks who are well connected. But for people in the communities that I serve and people sitting around their kitchen table right now, I don't think it's working well. I still believe in the American dream, but there's a disconnect between the American people and what we're getting in Washington. We're seeing how this is working, and so I would challenge the people of Georgia to try something different. I'm Raphael Warnock, and I